Hello, Noema listeners. Today we have a very special episode. We're going to be speaking about purpose and how to navigate purpose and in our lives. And today we have Maria, who's the founder of my transformation space. I ask always everyone to kind of introduce themselves. So are you able to introduce yourself, please?
Of course. Thank you for the warm welcome, Michaela. It's a pleasure for me to be here today as well. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Maria Kostadinova, and I am the founder of my transformation space. I have been working as a transformational coach for the last year and a half, and everything that I do as part of my business is with the aim to help women to reclaim their power, find their purpose, and live a fulfilled life. And it has come to me because of personal challenges, dealing with grief, and also going through a burnout. So I take it quite close to heart, everything that I do in terms of my career. It's also been a bit of a challenge for me because initially, when I was doing my degree here in the UK, I decided to pursue a law career. It was always my dream when I was a teenager to be a lawyer. And then I finished that. I achieved that dream. And in my mid-20s, I started to deal with a lot of spiritual build-up that I have not tended to. I discovered yoga, kundalini practice. I started to dive quite deep into some unresolved trauma from my earlier years. And then shortly after, I lost my dad, and I also had to go, like all of us, through the pandemic years. And then unfortunately, it all happened at the same time, which led me to experience personal illness. And also I had to deal with grief and then burnout, which was not easy. But once I was at a better place myself, I decided that it's time to do a different qualification. So I pursued a foundational degree in psychology with University of Toronto, which was done online. I always had interest in neuroscience and the way that we can reprogram our brain, but then also in the spiritual world. I've done further certifications with the NLP school in London as a life coach and with the Kabbalah Center on the spiritual side. Because I saw how the blend of neuro practices with the spiritual side of things really helped me rebuild myself from scratch. And I decided that in order to help others, I have to come with more of a unique approach, which is not a psychotherapy or cognitive therapy in the way we know it, where you just talk to a therapist. But it was something that involves more of mind, body, and soul together. I work with one-on-one clients, but then I also decided that I want to start a community for women here in London, and I've been holding mindfulness events on the side. I started in a super sort of spontaneous and brave way. I decided to approach a venue called the Pelican in Notting Hill. It's actually a gastropub, amazing space, and they have a second floor for private events and some activities on their program. So I approached them, and I did my first women's circle there last year in May. And then I decided that I want to lead women's circles for groups of like 20 or 30 women in London in person and sometimes also online to help them find a community of like-minded women who support their dreams and believe in manifestation and in the fact that we all deserve to live a fulfilling life. So I branched out, started working with a studio called Fire and Alchemy. And then lastly held an event at the Net for their private members club part, which was quite exciting.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we're just like spreading the power of manifestation in London. And these were also recognized as one of the best things to do on the weekends in London by Condé Nast last year, which was a huge milestone for me, and it all happened within 1 year. So that's who I am and what I stand for.
That's amazing. I think you had such a fascinating journey. There's a lot of can relate to you as well, especially in that build-up stage and navigating. I know I asked about what you do. I always like to ask my contributors something simple, but it could be hard. Who are you? So besides all of this, who are you, would you say?
I should love this question. I'm quite a multifaceted person. I'm very loyal friends. I'm someone who loves my family and has been dedicated for years to work through things with my family in order to foster even stronger bonds. I'm not satisfied with surface level relationships or just accepting the status quo. I'm someone who's obsessed with personal development and believe that we essentially create our own reality. So yeah, I'm just like someone who dreams big and wants to help others see that there is life beyond struggle.
I love that. I think there's a lot I relate. I just really admire that you're actually so out with it. I feel like I'm just starting to speak this voice, but you really are already in doing emotion.
Yeah.
I think purpose can be so different per person. How do you define your purpose, and has it changed along with time?
Yeah, of course. That's a great question. We hear a lot about purpose these days, especially in many podcasts and in the online space. I feel like purpose is being sold to us as this holy grail. You find your purpose and then you're done. Yeah, you're done. And then that's it. But in fact, yes, purpose does change over time. I personally share that for me at the earlier stage of my life, in my early 20s, this was all about becoming a lawyer because this was my dream. But then I found out a different side of me, someone who was deeply spiritual, someone who needed something outside of their normal 9 to 5 in order to feel fulfilled. And in a way, sometimes in school and when we're younger, people try to program us in a way to say you have to find this one thing and this is your calling, and then you have to get really good at it. And whilst I agree with the part of becoming really good at it, I think that sometimes you find one thing, you excel at it, and maybe you're ready to discover a different part of you. So that's why it's good to stay flexible when we think about purpose, not to view it as your final destination, but rather than peeling layers of yourself and finding, especially for women, we're cyclical beings. And then it's good to see in what stage of your life you're currently, whether you're like working on career at the moment, or maybe you want to start a family, maybe you want to move country, and then decide what purpose looks like for you at this specific time, but then also be open-minded. I always like to joke for myself because I believe in astrology, I believe in human design as well. And according to human design, I am manifesting generator, meaning I'm all over the place. And then I start one project, I may or may not finish it. And this project may lead me to something else that I could not imagine or envisage in my head that far in the future. But looking back in time, once I reached that sort of like new project, it was the perfect path for me. But if I probably tried to control it or micromanage my way there, I was not going to achieve it. So I just like learned in some way to embrace a bit of chaos and just trust the process and be fluid with my purpose.
I love that. I think what you mentioned about the early 20s as well, we all are taught that way, right? That we have to just focus on getting that career, that is our purpose, or getting that title, and then after is the purpose of, hey, we have to have a family now out of sudden. So I think for women, what would you say? How can they find that deeper purpose that is beyond those titles and achievements.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. So a lot of us are told this way. And I have big hopes for the next generation. And I can see that children are raised in different ways now, which is amazing. And what I can say is advice. I share this with my clients and the women that come to my women's circles and mindfulness events. I'm always super honest about the fact that we need to learn to trust our intuition, because intuition is our superpower. This is what makes us different from men. So many of us, where we try to make a decision, we get that gut feeling and we think, oh my God, should I do this? Should I not? And then there's something inside of you that makes you feel worried, anxious, maybe a little bit uneasy as well, even to a point you can get sick. But we don't listen to it. We decide to ignore because of XYZ logical reasons. We ignore our intuition and then later on ignore it because
we weren't taught even to listen to it.
Yeah, we're taught to essentially silence it and be logical. And whilst logic is great, we need to learn when to apply logic and when to just learn to like trust that intuition, because it could be helpful even in relationships. The woman is always the one setting the course through her intuition and even helping her partner make certain decisions, just because a man can never tap into this. Men also have gut feelings, but they don't have such strong intuition, and the woman can be a compass for both of them. And this is what we discuss in the women's circles, and through spiritual practice I help a lot of women to actually find their inner power, find that they're inherently worthy from the inside, find sisterhoods and other women who listen to them, who have gone through similar struggles, because a lot of us have the same doubts and fears, and we live in this like isolation, thinking, oh my God, I'm the only one who's struggling, I'm the only one who's behind. But then you sit together in a circle of 20 women and you see that each one of them has had some similar struggle or is still struggling. And you're able to show each other some grace, and hopefully go out for coffee or dinner and get engaged in those conversations about your dreams, and also start hearing about how this lady here decided to take a leap of faith and now she's like building her side hustle. So you start thinking about yourself, oh my God, we're so similar. If she can do it, I can do it. What am I good at? And then you start talking about ideas, and get motivated to do something for yourself instead of just going for, brunch and discussing guys or like other people, which is, I feel like, what we naturally sometimes do unless we start becoming more intentional about our conversations and environment.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I love what you say about deep talks, because I'm completely the same. I just cannot stand those small talks that are, I don't know, gossiping, no. And I think we had this idea that, oh, this is what it has to be. I'm like, no, it's really not. You can really talk so much like deeper, something that's meaningful. And I feel that now that we're voicing more out of this, we're going to also become more confident in speaking about these topics, like a deeper side.
Yeah.
And we're like allowing ourselves to go there.
Absolutely. I think the more we are comfortable with the fact that we won't get cancelled or rejected, we can even pave the way for others to be a bit more open about who they are and what their dreams are, and like their, deeper self beyond the superficial kind of layer that we all have and maintain in one way or another in order to be part of society, whether consciously or subconsciously.
Since you're mentioning this deeper self, what are some of the signs that we may notice if we're not in alignment with that deeper side of us?
Yeah, that's super important to notice, because it could be the first cue for when something is going wrong, or you're feeling close to burnout. For me, this looks like even though you're achieving success on the outside, maybe through a career, or you started a family, or you moved to a different country, things look good on the surface. deep down you don't feel fulfilled. There's certain sadness, exhaustion. You have no motivation to plan even good things, trips with friends or exciting dinner or event. Your brain is like at freeze most of the time, and then you feel that if someone comes to you with another, let's say, request or demand, or something goes wrong in your day-to-day beyond other things that you have to handle on your list, you may lose it and crash and cry, and your nervous system goes in a complete like dysregulation. These are some of the early signs of knowing that, well, maybe you have to pause. Maybe you have to sit down with yourself and ask some honest questions to assess, is this the life I want to live? Who am I impressing? Am I doing this because he makes me happy? Or am I doing it because mom and dad expected this of me? Or because this is what all my friends are doing, so I thought that it's going to bring me happiness, but in fact, it doesn't? Or is it time to take a break? We don't have to make some sort of definite decisions at a time when we're feeling low, but we can always stop, pause, buy some time, and decide how we want to take it forward.
Yeah, I like that. I think there's also for us women so much expectations and so much that we need to do, because of course now we have this career and freedom, but you also have to think so much more outside the line of what are we doing? Do we need a relationship as well? Do we need to also build a family? And there's a lot of pressures as well. And I think in order now to build our careers is some of the things that, we have to leave it for a bit later. So it's quite conflicting. But in your opinion, do you think women can have it all? Do we think can we have all of these aspects going on at the same time?
Yeah, you're right. I think the more we're progressing as a society, I feel like there's more and more expectations and responsibilities placed on women. We have more opportunities than ever because we're free to do as we please, but somehow we are restricted by this mental cage that sometimes we end up doing nothing just because we have not been in touch with our true desires, with our like values, what is like our authentic self, needs, and vision for our future. So to answer the question, I do believe that we're cyclical beings, and as such, we can have different type of focus on a certain area of our life during different stages of our life. So, for example, at some point, we could be quite career focused, and next moment we could decide that we want to start a family or birth a project that's going to help others. It doesn't have to be even something that provides you like financial income. It could be something you do pro bono, or that you want to find a new passion. So it really depends on the period of your life that you're at the moment. But I do think it is a myth that we have been sold, especially in Western society, that you could be a boss babe, a nurturing mother, and then a passionate lover at the same time. But unfortunately, it doesn't work this way. And I feel we need to take some of this pressure away from women and let them understand that it's okay to do what aligns with their desires depending on the stage of their life that they're at the moment. And if right now they want to focus on being a mother and have their own family, they should allow themselves time in order to go through this process and actually enjoy it, instead of thinking, what's the next big thing, and being ridden with essentially blame or inner guilt for maybe putting their career on pause in order to, give the love and care to their child that it needs right now. So I think we need to be free from all those expectations and learn that we're the one making the decisions for our life and whatever we decide to do at the moment is the right choice, regardless of what anyone else is saying.
Yeah, I think actually this goes so far beyond women as well, because to be able to do that, we also have to have a supportive partner, a partner who agrees to do basically the same. That now is the time that we're gonna enjoy it like this, or maybe I work, you do this. But if we're not in alignment as well in the relationship, that can really become such a big friction. And it happens to a lot of cases, like after they have children, and you see like relationship falls out. And that is because they lost this alignment. And
unfortunately, it's like it's not guaranteed. Sometimes we meet a person and then they look good on paper, let's say, and you're ready to start thinking about the idea of having the family together. But then again, I think this is when it's most important to tune in and listen to our gut feelings, because I think we always know.
The body tells you as well. I learned the hard way, but the body knows. You just need to listen to it.
You always know whether someone is going to be a good partner for you or not, almost in the same way how you know if someone is going to be a good friend to you or not. I feel like friends are always a good reference point. And I do the same for me because I'm single at the moment. So when I go to dates, I'm always like, will I do this with my friends? And would this place, for example, be somewhere I would go with friends? And if the answer is no, I wouldn't do it with a guy either. Not because of some impossible high standard, but just because this is who I am as a person. This is what I enjoy. And then if someone is coming to your life, they need to be aligned, and you shouldn't be making huge sacrifices in terms of who you are as a person in order to basically become a couple and foster a partnership. And I think, usually our first feeling about someone is correct, but we women, we doubt ourselves a lot, and we decide to kind of double guess ourselves. And
we're also taught to settle. That's a big problem.
We're told to settle, and we're told, oh my god, but he's such a nice guy, you have to give him a chance. And I feel like this is a whole different topic about the trope on the nice guys. But I think we really radically need to start self-accepting and choosing life for ourselves, and knowing that we would be happy this way regardless of what happens. Let's say you make a choice not to settle unless you actually find a partner who's aligned with you, and you accept that maybe this is gonna happen later down the life in your 40s or your 50s, and maybe you're not going to have this path of okay, I'm starting my family by the age of, let's say, 30 and children by 35, etc. You have to let go completely from those timetables and be okay with your choices, and know that life is going to unfold in the best way possible because you trust it to be that way. Because when we make choices out of fear to settle and to go for, let's say, someone who looks good on paper but we don't feel genuine connection with, this thing is almost already pre-script from the beginning to end up in divorce or separation or some sort of kind of going different ways, because from the beginning you made a choice not from place of love but from place of fear. You did it because you were scared not to end up alone, not because you love that person and you wanted to invest time and care in them. So essentially whatever we kind of put there into the relationship, this is what it kind of manifests later down.
And it still goes really much back to having your own purpose, because when you do and you are aligned with your deeper purpose, then everything else aligns so differently than when you're misaligned and then you just give in to those fears and that scarcity mindset, or just societal in a way ways of being. And you touched upon burnout, which is a very big topic. It's a lot of people now I feel also going through. Is there ways to spot that early on, and can it play a role in our deeper purpose as well?
I think going back to just what we discussed earlier, it's those kind of subtle signs of just feeling super fatigued, exhausted. You go and do some sort of health checks, everything it looks good on paper, but deep down you don't feel lights up on the inside. You're losing passion for maybe your hobbies or the things that used to excite you. For me, it manifested in, I was like super passionate about yoga and like fitness, and I was striving. But when I experienced my burnout, it took me at least a year to rebuild my stamina and go back into exercise just because I was so exhausted. So these are the little things you can start observing. And then if you take some time off work or like go on holiday and this is not going away, I think it's time to look deeper and then seek, I think, professional support, because this is something that has helped me a lot. Everyone is different. Some people want to talk to therapists, others might go to coaches, some might be more comfortable kind of exploring another event for women. Usually they find it quite comforting opening up while someone else is like spoken, let's say in the circle. I think this is how my sort of spiritual journey started. It was in a women's circle like that. And then you start talking and seeing what others are going through and maybe doing like a reality check of, okay, maybe I'm going through something deeper here. Maybe I'm not fulfilled and I'm close to burning out. Or even just like finding a friend that you trust who can, relate to what you struggle with, but for sure don't isolate or try to just like brush it off, because it is something serious. You wouldn't, if you were diagnosed with certain like sickness or something like that, you wouldn't ignore it and then brush it off and go back to work. You would try to look deeper. And I think these days we're lucky. I feel in the last 5 years or so, there's been like a massive movement towards wellness and holistic practices, and people are talking more openly about burnout and the fact that you don't need to be, a martyr, and kind of like pushing through everything that life throws at you.
Yeah, it's nice to know that there's these groups, because I personally am, if I'm not well or aligned, I actually do isolate.
Yeah.
That is my coping, which I do feel it helps in a way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think it probably would have been a lot easier if I just knew there's someone else to say, oh, this is burnout, or, to say that's how to get out of it.
Yeah. It's very typical for, I think, women who are hyper independent to deal with this type of issues like in isolation. And it's quite, it's quite sad, because in a way, like you said, it helps me, and I felt the same throughout the years, as if it was the only thing I want to do, because when I go out with others, I feel like I can't contribute to the conversations in a meaningful way or to the friendship, relationship. But naturally, as humans, we crave relationship and support. And I feel the best thing to do is to start opening up to maybe like, your friends who have been there through some challenges, even to like, I don't know, if you're in early stages of dating, to start sharing a little bit to see how the person is going to take that and react, whether they'll be supportive or not. It's quite brave, but it's a good test to see if someone is going to be there through the difficult times. And yeah, just allow yourself to receive support. I think is this one of those blocks for us women, to kind of like allowing ourselves to receive in general, but it's hard.
That's a good way of seeing it. And how do you balance then this high performance, because we have to be high performance, but then also wellness and finding joy and finding that deeper purpose even outside that high performance?
Yeah. Well, it took some time to get there to a balanced state, and some kind of like trial and errors. But let's say what was really, really important for me is to find the bigger yes behind what I do, and behind the life I want to live. So once you know where you need to allocate the majority of your energy for the day or for the week, you already are left with like a tiny amount of time and also energy to dedicate to other stuff.
Yeah.
So you're way more conscious about it, and you see it as like sacred time. So you learn to dedicate it only to friendships that are also giving back to you, not just taking. I feel when we're on autopilot and a little bit like lost on our journey, we kind of try to be everywhere, pour into everyone until you just kind of like feel depleted. But once you know like what is that it's important for you, you're quite comfortable saying no to those other activities that might be slightly draining, or there's not going to be much like return on like your energy. You're not going to enjoy it, so it becomes super easy to kind of like say no to those things. And then obviously you want to allocate some time to kind of mindfulness practice and journaling. I mean, I also have worked with a therapist or a coach. I find my ways to fill my own cup, just because I also work with other people. And you want to make sure, you know,
It's so important. Even therapists have to have therapists. So
yeah, exactly. So yeah, this is kind of like where I am at the moment, and I think for first time in my life for the past kind of like 7 or 8 months, I feel it's a really good and balanced place where I still go out, I still have fun, but like when it comes to work, I know when to switch off. I know when I need to kind of like go the extra mile, but I make sure that this doesn't go on for like too long. And then, you know, when you go on holidays, allow yourself sometimes to have holiday time. I feel we when we're creators, we're all guilty of like, let's create content, or like, let's be on the job while some way. And then you come back to London. I think this was one of my biggest kind of like mistakes in the past. You come back to London and you're not like at all like rested, because we're on a holiday, but then you've been kind of like still working, and you haven't fully switched off. So yeah, we all have to kind of like find ways of
coming back is always such a big shock. I'm always shocked to come back. I'm like, oh, I'm coming back here again.
Yeah.
But yeah, it must be something as well in it.
Yeah, and you feel a bit like forced to get back to routine immediately. Now I just kind of allow myself, the first week I'm back from travel, I'm like, these are my priorities. This is what I'm gonna do. Like, I'm not gonna push myself to work out too hard. So I'm not gonna. I think it's all about how we feel in our body, and then the brain sends like signals in terms of, okay, I'm blaming myself for not working out, and then you start feeling shitty in your body. Whereas if you're just calm and you're like, okay, like I'm tired, I've been on a flight, my body is starting to readjust, and then you're suddenly so much better. You're like not bloated, even though you've not exercised, but you actually feel healthier. Because I've had stages in my life when I was like pushing to like exercise and feeling guilty for missing out like workout classes, and I was feeling the worst ever in my skin, which only comes to show that whenever you surrender and you accept, okay, I'm tired, I need rest, and your body is happy as you're happy. But whenever you go against it, you just end up, I don't know, putting more stress on the body to deal with, and then you prolong the whole process.
Yeah, I think rest can be an interesting one. I battled a lot with it because I used to feel guilty for resting. And I think there's a lot of perhaps internalized beliefs and narratives. What do you think those beliefs are that could be holding women back from actually pursuing their deeper purpose?
Yeah, there's a lot of them. For us, I think, because obviously we come from Eastern Europe, so I think that's a big sort of like cultural thing where you're told to persevere and to kind of like be able to handle everything that comes your way, despite the fact that you're a woman. And I think when you're raised with this type of mentality, it's quite hard to let go of it, and then you always feel guilty for not doing your best. But even your baseline is already like, I'm giving it 100%. So when you push further, you go like about those 100%. So you're always like on overrun. So whenever I kind of like understood this for myself, I started actually thinking, wow, like, okay, my start point is like 100%. And when I push more, I go above. So what I can do is actually tune it down like a little bit. So maybe start at like 70. So then when you have to actually push, you go up to 100, but not beyond. And started thinking about the fact how much pressure I put on myself, and about the fact that this is not love, it's literally just some sort of like, I don't know, fake expectations that I didn't want to adopt, but they were like imposed. And I was like, okay, wait a second. Actually, I can have this like softer life. I could still be successful and make things work for me, but without so much like push and hustle. Often you hear this from like, especially clients come and they say, oh my God, why is like everything in my life taking so much time? I'm just like learning that for me, things kind of like don't work out in the way that I expect or quick. And then they do a bit of like work on their subconscious, a bit of coaching, a bit of spiritual practice, and then things start to work out like magically for like within 6 months. So much more like changes. And it's all about this kind of like shifting perception that you are inherently deserving of good things, that you are a woman, and that your worth doesn't come from like your achievement, but it actually kind of like comes from how you feel on the inside. What are your energy levels? How is your presence in the world? You know, I used to hate when I'm kind of like, I'm so overwhelmed, and I'm kind of like going out trying to participate in life, but I'm already like not in a great place. So what happens is just like you do those kind of like outbursts because you cannot maintain the energy, and you end up being so upset about like some minor thing because your nervous system is all over the place. But the moment you regulate and you start kind of like taking breaks and doing the things that you love first before you go out and pour into other people, is when things actually shift, and you get those invitations, and you get people taking care of things, and you get like men who come and just book the dinner for your date, and then you can surrender and always become more of this like type B girl. You just constantly being in this like type A energy that we're used to kind of like perform.
Okay, I need to learn the surrender part, I think. But obviously doing this when you're already in a pursuit of your goal or like a purpose, and then now you realize, oh, maybe this is not my right alignment, and then you have to now make this change.
Yeah.
A lot of women, I guess, may battle a lot with this guilt with that we mentioned. How can they navigate that change?
Yeah. Well, usually it's finding the right community to support you if, let's say, if your friend group are not supportive, and your partner is maybe at a place where they feel scared that maybe you want to reduce your work hours, they cannot support you, they're not welcoming of that idea, and maybe your friends are also telling you, oh, you haven't good at your job, you're like due to promotion, etc. And you start feeling more and more alone, let's say maybe family as well. So that's when it's very important to find events, let's say for women who are in a similar place as you, who are kind of like in the in-between, where they're done with their old life, they want to move to something new, they don't know how. They just need someone to talk to and to feel supported. And this is when it's like important to like allow yourself to share and be honest in those like events with other women. I've witnessed that like in the women's circles. People would come multiple times, they would share, they would build friendships, and then they will start taking actions in order to shift their life. There was a really special girl that was at one of my first women's circles. She was going through a very tough time. She was with her boyfriend, very happy and everything in a relationship, but she was trying to find a new job because she didn't have one at the moment. And she was going through these like horrible interviews, and nothing was like clicking for her. She was very honest and open about it. She started this kind of women's circle. We worked on the fears, set some manifestations, and then just like 2 weeks after that, she landed like a job, which was like in the creative space. She was in marketing. It was kind of like remote. She really loved it. Was super happy. Then she continued kind of coming to those circles, manifesting. She says next she wants to go to Dubai. So it took kind of like 6 months or more for her boyfriend to apply to through his like work to move to Dubai. She eventually kind of like started disliking this job that she was in, and she found a way to quit. Now she's like fully freelanced with her marketing career, moved to Dubai, like in an amazing flat. She's super happy, and it's just like an example of something that has happened for her in like the period of 1 year, and she's been like to 3 or 4 of like my events and just being super open, sharing, manifesting, trusting the universe. And she's now at a completely new place, you know.
That's amazing. I think I do have a question because you mentioned community. Do you think community and friends are the same thing?
Well, very interesting. They could be. If you have the right friend group, but sometimes they could be slightly different. Let's say if you're very much into wellness and holistic health, and you need people who you can go to this type of like classes with, someone that you can go to like reformer Pilates or like to yoga retreats, etc. But all your friends here, they're like really good buddies. Like you like traveling together. You've known each other since university or high school. But for example, they like going for nice dinners, having like a drink at like a fancy bar, going to like cool holidays, etc. But take no interest in coming to like the yoga class with you, or experiencing something out of their comfort zone. Then this is not your community. And you need to be open enough to find other people who can be there and support your newly found interests. But then sometimes what could happen is that you start finding those interests, you find community, you go out to this like yoga retreats, you enjoy yourself, you change, you start, shining brighter, and your friends over here see that and they're like, okay, I want to come to this yoga class with you now, please take me, or I want to try this spiritual events. But I feel like
Or sometimes you miss online completely.
yeah, sometimes
Because then they could like, but who are you now? I just don't know this person anymore.
sometimes you lose some friends on the way, which is quite disheartening. But then I feel no one is in our lives forever. Like we're all here for a certain amount of time, and when you're in alignment with some of those people, it's based on like lessons that we all need to learn. And I feel like once the lesson is learned, if you're not growing together, you're going in difference.
Yeah. Have you had in your life a pivotal time where you just had to redefine what success actually means to you?
Yeah, I think it was around the same time that I lost my dad, and I had COVID myself, which is kind of long COVID, and then had to deal with burnout. It was all basically, yeah, it was a lot. It was like March 2021. I would say up until kind of like October 2021. That's all this kind of like happened.
Sounds like a whole Saturn return. Was it? Yeah. Is it? Yeah.
When the Saturn returns. So yeah, and it was like one of those moments when, yes, I was dealing with grief and loss, but other things in my life were like going well. I was excelling in my career. I bought a flat in London, so the only thing outside to people, it looked like I have it together, but to me, it was like so much like responsibility coming from all fronts. I had a work promotion as well, and me being Eastern European and told to say yes to opportunities, I didn't even for a second stop and thought, oh my god, like, can I take on this promotion? Like, am I at a place? Because I was asked at work to essentially manage a team of people. And I was like, am I at a place where I can manage other people? Am I at a place where I can manage even myself and my own workloads. And it kind of like led me to a place where I had to take some sabbatical certain days of the week to go to like sound healing or like kundalini yoga, and just try to, you know, take care of myself so I can rebuild on everything that happened. Most importantly, my health, like physical and mental health, because I kind of like felt completely destroyed. And then shortly after, I even, you know, I decided that I need to reevaluate my career. I decided that I would go like on a solo trip to like Mexico and like study different healing modalities and maybe pursue my dream, which was like in one way or another to be a life coach, to help other people with their lives, and to essentially guide them through everything that I went through. But there was no one there to kind of like hold my hand. I also felt quite lost because there's this kind of like downside to the spiritual communities that I feel like there are a lot of people out there trying to sell you a quick fix to
Yes.
your pain, and then it's quite, you know, easy when you're lost and you're in pain to kind of like go and spend like thousands of pounds on like healers, and just essentially to like outsource your power to others, which is something I disagree with. And I made it like, you know, the mission of my work to always help people just to find the way back to themselves, because I cannot give the answer to anyone. And this was my journey. I had to find my answers in a more difficult way. But at least now I know, and nothing can really shake me because I'm super certain about what works and what doesn't. So, you know, looking back at it, it was, I guess, a blessing in disguise.
Because you learned through it and became stronger, but all this what you make. I think you made it because you turned inwards, which is something that many people, like you said, they look externally for quick fixes. And then it's never going to work. Even that, oh, let's do the solo travel. That's fantastic. But then if you're still not turning even there, like inwards, then you come back and then you're coming back to the same.
Same person.
Yeah. And yeah, so for those who have, for example, now realized that, okay, I realized I want to make this shift, I want to align, how can they make those changes without feeling that they have to start everything over again?
Yeah. I think everyone is already intuitively quite aware of their strengths and talents. I often ask, you know, my clients just to look back in their childhood or early teenage years and to see what is that they used to love doing, you know, when no one was watching, and then there was like no pressure about like grades or performing, and to start just leveraging these skills, because, you know, you don't have to go out there and like change your life and do like a 360 about everything that you've achieved so far. But you can like, however, take baby steps and, you know, maybe let's say I have a really good friend of mine who's a chef, and she also come to my events. She was the one who really like pushed me to go big with them and put myself out there. And for example, she is already a chef, but her dreams, like maybe one day to have her own restaurant, or to be completely a freelancer. So what she does is like, she organizes those like supper clubs and other events on weekends, or when she's back in Bulgaria, she collaborates with some really cool brands for like shop openings, goes to like retreats, and that's something that's already quite similar to what she does in her day-to-day job, but she has the creative freedom of completely, you know, managing this in a way that aligns with her, and no one is kind of like telling her in what order to do it. And she has that creative freedom, which is very important to her.
Yeah. I feel like you speak a lot about community and, you know, having this aspect, but then you suggest that community is a good thing for women in particular as well?
Yeah, I think for women, we need relationships, and sometimes, like we said earlier, because of dating challenges, we may not be able to get the support that we need from a partner, but we do have that deep needs to be seen and heard. And we also need a lot of like oxytocin. And to release oxytocin, we need to be close to people who are good to us, who listen, who help us. And there's nothing really that makes it easier for us to get that oxytocin release than kind of like sitting with other women who are going through the same things, who you can talk to, who have somehow managed to overcome those challenges. So you already see that this is possible for you. Otherwise, we kind of think, oh, but this person over there is like living this amazing life that's never going to be me. But what you don't know is that this person over there has also gone through a lot of challenges. And they even had it like harder than you. I feel like we're also kind of like prone to live in that victim mentality where we just kind of like whatever happened, I'm not trying to minimize like anyone's experience, but even myself, I'm guilty of it. And then the more I sort of grew and like listened to different people's stories, and I was like, oh my God, like I've not been through anything that traumatic. Actually, there's people out there battling like so much like evil, and they still, manage to keep their heart open, and they've done so much like for themselves. And yeah, I just think it's like very important to sit in that community, talk to others, see what their experience is, and then you're already like 50% there in terms of the changes that you want to make, because it looks attainable. So we need these kind of like mentors. Like, let's say you want to like a really healthy relationship, then you need to surround yourself with at least like, I don't know, 2 or 3 friends who are engaged or about to marry like someone that they really love, who is an amazing and supportive partner. So
but how do you even find them? Once you're ready, because if they're not already in your community or your group, that's also quite,
I feel like,
challenging.
When you align yourself on the right path, people follow. Because I have at least 3 or more friends who are like in such like marriages or like about to marry, and it's not hard, and then it's attainable for you to kind of like think, okay, if they have it, I have it. Because otherwise, I don't know, if you're sitting with people who are like unhappy and they're just settling for someone in order not to be alone, and then you start thinking, oh my God, like I'm never gonna find someone I'm gonna be happy with, because look at like these people around me, they had to settle. So what does that mean for me? Like I have to settle. So like community really is everything. Our environment, I feel, could either be the base for us to grow if it's nurturing and supportive, or it can just drain you and bring you further down, which is super sad. And I think at our age, we have enough understanding, awareness, and free will to move away from such environments. So, no one's holding you there. That is a hostage.
It's true. It's very true. I think something that's actually a lot of women might be battling with is that they are in a successful career and that they are in a place that are earning well, but they feel unfulfilled. What can they do in this aspect or in this time?
It really depends what their true desire is, but I think you need to do some sort of serious work. You need to be quite open to go and speak to either like a therapist or a coach, and start exploring what is like your authentic desire outside of what we think it's good for us, because maybe you reach a point like in your career that there's nothing else for you to kind of like achieve there, and maybe you need something else, but you need to be brave enough to ask those uncomfortable questions about your next steps and what is it you're missing. And most of us just don't want to go there. They're scared of like those kind of like deeper, darker sort of parts of our psyche, and they just decide to ignore it, and they think, no, I have it like good, whatever, and then like 10-15 years down the line they have midlife crisis. But and then decide it's not good, and now they're brave enough then to deal with it, but I feel like the earlier you kind of like start this process, the better it's gonna be for you when you're more like established and have a family, and you won't have those kind of healthy relationships, and also be happy with your life.
Yeah, that's great. And now, as a wrap up, I always like to ask, it could be like random or something that you have learned, an advice that you could pass on to someone else. What would that be?
Yeah, amazing. Love that. Well, my advice would be to truly believe that there's nothing impossible for you. If you set your minds on something, and if you have an inner calling that's drawing you in that direction, you should absolutely make the move. And in some cases, if you have resistance, that's even a stronger sign that you need to take that step, because usually inner resistance shows us the key to that kind of missing part, because we're so scared of what's going to happen if I actually, leave my job tomorrow and focus like fully on pursuing a new path as a creative, and then you hold back and the resistance builds. So the moment you find the strength to just surrender, and the courage, you're going to see what else is going to unfold in your life. And then equally, you don't have to feel pressured to make a choice between, let's say, a stable career and like a side hustle that you're just currently building, because I think that's something a lot of people in our generation feel pressure for right now, because they're seeing all these kind of like creators like on Instagram, chiming freelancers, and they think, oh my god, what I'm doing in this sort of job, do I have to be a creator now? So what you can do actually is start exploring what else you're passionate for, but you don't need to kind of like let go of your job immediately and put yourself to financial instability just so you can be like the other people on Instagram, and just be kind to yourself and explore how to make some transitions, trust the process, trust the timing of your life as well, because sometimes we push so hard to get from like point A to point B just because we think, okay, this has to happen. It has to happen by the end of 2025 because at New Year's I'm going to be making new resolutions, but maybe it's not the year, let's say, to rebuild your career. Maybe the year to work on regulating your nervous system, and just taking time to, let's say, go on trips that you dreamed of but never had the courage to go to, and now maybe you have the right people to go on those trips with, because previously you didn't have that group of friends, but now you do, and you can take that that journey, and then just trusting what unfolds in front of you. Say yes to the opportunities, because the right opportunities will always find you. Don't shy away from them, and just like trust in the divine timing for everything.
I love that. I mean, yeah,
Will be life, I know words.
full divine timing in alignment with today's magical portals.
The light gate.
Exactly. So thank you so much for sharing more about finding deeper purpose, what you do, and I'm sure now it will inspire many people to even like be able to seek you out and find your coaching and your events. Sounds really amazing. So I'm actually going to be there as well from now on.
Thank you so much for having me here today. It was a pleasure speaking to you. I loved every second of it. I'm glad and look forward to collaborating again in future.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.